Hi everyone, it's Dara. Welcome back. So for today's video, we're going to talk about interview for the ESL teacher. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what questions you should expect as an ESL teacher and how to answer those questions. The do's and the don'ts of a job interview. So stay tuned. Now this video is going to be a two-part video. So this video is part one. Part two is going to be about the demo lesson, and I will talk more about that a little later. So without further ado, let's get interviewing. It's very important before we get started is that you as an ESL teacher have to be prepared for your interview. So first and foremost, you want to make sure that you are dressed appropriately. Now do not look at this as a good example because obviously I am not dressed for a job interview. But one of the things you definitely want to do is make sure that you are prepared the day before your interview. And how to do that is laying out your clothes and preparing them the night before, making sure that you have at least 2 copies of your resume. Some companies will have what we call group interviews, or some companies will have the employer and someone else in the interview, maybe another manager or maybe a director. So you always want to be prepared just in case someone asks you, do you have a copy of your resume? And you can give it to them. Never assume that the employer will print out a copy of your resume. Why? Because employers are very busy people, and if they are interviewing more than one person in that day, they may forget to actually print it out, or they just may not think about it. So you want to make sure that you are always one step ahead of the employer. You want to always arrive on time. Always. For any job interview, you always want to get there at least 15 minutes early. But one of the things my dad have taught me is to get there at least a half an hour early. Now some of you might say, why a half an hour? Because you just never know if you get stuck in traffic. If you live in New York City like I do, we have public transportation, so you already know how that is. It could be a struggle. You can start out leaving your house early, and next minute you know you're stuck on the ground and there's no way you can make your job interview. You give yourself additional time to get to the job interview on time. Now let's say if you are running late. We all, well at least most of us, have cell phones. So please make sure that you always have the employer's phone number or contact information in your cell phone so you can call them and let them know that you're running late. Most employers are understanding to that, but what they're not understanding is if you come to an interview late and say, oh, sorry, I was stuck in traffic, they will not see you. Always call the employer, let them know what's going on, and see if they're still willing to see you that same day or maybe reschedule for another day. Let's say you get sick the night before your interview. It happens. Email, phone call. Let the employer know as soon as possible so that way they can possibly reschedule. There's no guarantee that the employer will, 1, understand your situation, or 2, be willing to reschedule with you. So you don't want to be too confident in that, but you always want to give that person that respect by letting them know what's going on. The day of the job interview, the one thing you want to do is when you're first walking in, it depends on the location. If you're coming into an office building, there might be security downstairs, or it might be an office where there's a secretary, or maybe there's someone at the front door. Always come in with a smile. Always greet the person that you say, good morning, good afternoon, hello, how are you? Because you just never know who knows who. Let me give you an example. If you go into a job interview and let's say you have to go to the security desk, usually you have to get through security first before you can get to the actual destination of your interview. You always want to greet the security guard. Now, whether the security guard greets you back or not is fine, but you always want to maintain that respect because that security guard might be friends with the employer that's about to interview you. You never want to come in with an attitude or be rude because that is a bad characteristic to have, and also you never know who knows who. So you just always want to leave that good first impression. When you get to the destination of your interview, the first person who you speak with, you always want to greet them, introduce yourself, and let them know who you're here to see. Now, one mistake that I have made too many times, and I am going to share with you, is try to know the employer's name, have it in your phone, write it down on a piece of paper, memorize it. You don't want to come in, and I've done this, and say, "Hi, I am here to see do not want to do that because now it looks like you're unprepared. If you're having a hard time saying the person's name, because that does happen, try your very best to pronounce the name as closely as possible, and generally the person at the front desk will be very happy to assist you. Hello, welcome to ESL Agency. My name is Christina Jones. It's a pleasure to meet you, Dara. Thank you, Christine. It's nice to meet you too. So, Dara, tell me about yourself. I have over 10 years ESL teaching experience. I have taught all levels of English instruction from beginner to advanced. All of my students were adults, ranging between the ages of 18 to about maybe 50, 55 years of age. I have worked in numerous agencies, including nonprofit and language schools. And I have a bachelor's degree in English, and I hold 2 certifications in English, teaching English as a second language. I also have computer skills. I truly enjoy working with students, particularly adult learners who are looking to learn or improve their English language skills. I love helping people, and I'm just happy to have this opportunity to be here today. That's great. So tell me about your teaching style. Tell me a little bit about how you teach in your classroom. What are some of the things that you like to do with your students? What are some of the goals that you set for them as well? I like to describe my teaching style as being student-centered. It is important to me that students are talking in English at all times. So the focus of all of my lessons is to make sure that students have the opportunity to practice what they're learning in the ESL classroom. And one way that I like to do that is like to do something called pair work or group activities. So a lot of times, depending on what we're talking about, I will have students work together where they have the opportunity to practice English conversation or the grammar points that they're learning. Maybe it's a reading or writing activity, but they're working with their peers. Another thing that I like to do is allow students to learn presentation skills. So I like to do a lot of role play exercises with them. I enjoy allowing the students to do several projects like show and tell, where maybe they bring in an item from their country and they talk about it, or maybe we do projects like Family Tree, where they bring in pictures of their relatives and talk about where they're from. I'm a very bubbly teacher. I enjoy making my students feel comfortable in the classroom. It is in my experience that when students are comfortable, that they not only learn better, but they feel more encouraged to learn the English language. I also am very big on giving homework and in-classroom assignments because I feel reinforcement is very important. Student review, reinforcing what students learn, is an effective way that students remember what they're learning in the classroom. I'm interested in working for this agency because I'm quite impressed by the high retention rates that your agency has regarding adult literacy and the ESL students who enroll and maintain staying in those classes. I have experience with high retention rates myself, and I do believe that it's important not only students enroll in that ESL class, but that they stay throughout the whole term or semester of that class. I also love the interaction between the staff as well as the students. I like the hands-on approach. I do believe that when staff members or the teachers come together and work with each other to have more of a hands-on approach, working with their students, offering professional development as well as student development, I do think those are excellent elements that I would love to be a part of. I have experience in teacher training, so I would love the opportunity to participate in that as well as teaching. I hope that I would be able to bring in my experiences and my skill sets to your agency to not only be an asset to your company, but to showcase my passion for teaching English and to help more students learn the English language so that way they can pursue both their educational and professional goals. So Dara, I would like for us to move on with this interview by having you come in and do a demo lesson. Now the demo lesson will be for 15 minutes. I would like for you to choose a topic of your choice, and this is going to be for an intermediate level ESL class. One of the things I'm going to be looking for is how you implement the lesson, how you interact with the students, how you engage them into the lesson, and how you interact with them. Now the demo lesson will just be with me and my director, so it will not be an actual class of students, but we will pretend to be students. So please, when you do your demo lesson, treat the demo lesson as if you are actually in a classroom of ESL students. Thank you, Christine, for this opportunity, and I will be more than happy to present a demo lesson for you. Great. So I would like for you to come in tomorrow at 9 a.m. and I look forward to listening to your demo lesson. Thank you so much for coming in, Dara. I really, really appreciate it. It was very nice meeting you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.